Welcome to In the Room, where we explore the elusive world of casting for film, TV, and commercials. Join us as we interview directors, writers, producers, and actors, taking a deep dive into their experiences with casting and how the ultimate decisions are made in bringing a story to the screen. Get an inside look at casting and find out what really goes on in the room.
We have a new songwriter for you tonight.
Down in the muddy Ohio, blue bridge in the snow.
Hey, what's her name, by the way?
Dandelion.
No.
Well, it's the name I'm giving you.
If you are driving a gray BMW i3, your car is parked out front. By my side since we were kids. When they picked on you, I make the all the musicians I came up with are opening for big names, signing to labels, making money. I couldn't seem to find my place.
I'm just the guy that used to be in a band. And there's a lot of guys that used to be in bands.
Chasing dreams, it's hard.
It's hard to quit, too.
Was in Custard Park, I was passing through, and you followed me on the road that day. What you take me for? Were you listening? What you said was it hang on through. It's where I'm going. I'm passing through. You know my name. You know the answer now. It's where I'm going. I'm passing through. You call my name. You know the answer now.
It's called playing music, so it should feel like play.
My name is John Williams. I am a casting director.
My name is Heather Kafka, and I'm an actor.
Today, we're going to talk about Dandelion, and we have KARMEN LEECH, who is my partner in the cast station, casting director extraordinaire, and then LANI THOMISON, who is helps us with casting, does music, does wardrobe, does production, is just all around awesomeness, and you guys have done 2 films with Nicole, and we have remote, we have Nicole, which we'll read a bio on you.
Yay, thank you, fun new hosts, for joining, and our guest today, Nicole Riegel, who grew up in Jackson, Ohio, a town in the Appalachian foothills. She joined the Army National Guard and was stationed at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. After the military, she attended Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio, where she assisted and studied under acclaimed documentarian Julia Reichert, graduating in 2009. She attended UCLA Film School, graduating with an MFA. Riegel's first film was Holler in 2020, starring Jessica Barden and distributed by IFC Films. The plot follows a 17-year-old Appalachian girl growing up in poverty who scavenges scrap metal from local shuttered factories to raise the money she needs to attend college. IFC Films acquired distribution rights to her second film, Dandelion, filmed in Cincinnati and South Dakota. Riegel wrote and directed the feature film, which tells the story of Dandelion, a struggling singer-songwriter from Cincinnati, who accepts a last-ditch effort gig at a motorcycle rally in South Dakota, where she meets Casey, a guitarist who walked away from his dream long ago. As Dandelion joins Casey's nomadic group of struggling musicians, they make music together and strike up a whirlwind romance. The experience moves Dandelion from a narrow view of success to a deeper appreciation of her artistic journey and the discovery of a voice that is her own. Welcome, Nicole.
So I want to start off with saying that, one, you guys did an amazing job, and it's so hard to show that sort of artistic journey, especially I think from a music sort of creative, and so many people get it wrong, but I felt like you guys got it so right, like showing that journey of what it is to create into that intimacy of it. And so where did I mean, I know you're in Nashville now, we were just talking about that. Where did the idea come from?
Yeah, there was another film I wanted to make
after Holler and
Showgirls. We just talked about that.
Showgirls, one of my favorite films of all time, which no one would ever expect. But if you know me, makes complete sense. So yeah, I wanted to I was gonna make something else. And then pandemic happened, South by Southwest was canceled, all the plans, my first film, like all the opportunities that were like on the cusp for me went away in a matter of like 2 weeks. And I was very devastated, and I just went back to Cincinnati. I'm from Ohio, but I went back to Cincinnati, and I was, it was a very cold March, and I was walking around Washington Park in Cincinnati drinking coffee, and I was writing, and I'd sort of had an idea for Dandelion, but I started writing something that actually became the song, The Ghost of Cincinnati. And it was about just being really depressed and despair and down as an artist, and not even knowing if I wanted to get back up again, thinking this is just so hard and I love it so much, but it's crushing me, and this specific blow is a big one, and I don't know where to go from here. And all of that was really channeled into songs and into this character that is Dandelion. And that's sort of the impetus for it. And then from there, it all really poured out of me. And I just really took everything I was experiencing and all of my frustrations as a filmmaker out on this fictitious musician named Dandelion, and sort of poured it all in through the lens of a musician.
Did you have a music background at all, or?
Not really. I love music. It's not something I try to make a career out of or monetize. I love my guitar. I can play French horn and trumpet like all the cool
French
kids.
horn.
I love horn.
Those are my three.
Just happen to have French horn.
Yeah, it's for fun, and music's such a big part of my life. And when I'm writing, filmmaking, I always have playlists, and music is a big part of that creative process for me. And so even on set, I distribute playlists to people, and when I'm writing, I have like a 2-hour playlist that just loops for that specific film. And growing up, I just always had, when I would write, I had, my Alanis Morissette, Liz Phair, Michelle Branch, Fiona Apple CDs. I listened to sad girl music, and I still do. And it's so funny because I did that when I was 14, 15, 16. And then now as a grown woman, I'm in my office on my floor listening to the same music and writing. And like, I just get paid to do the exact same fucking thing now.
That's awesome.
Which I think is cool. But then I'm also like, I'm still sitting here on my floor listening to sad girl music. And I've somehow convinced people to pay me for that. And I'm just waiting for the phone call where they say, yeah, this isn't a real job. This can no longer be your life.
Well, that sounds genius.
And so how hard was it to get Dandelion off the ground, like to put it together and get it financed? I mean, it's just like we all live in that world, and it's just such, like you said, it's so hard. Yeah. And to come off of Holler, which had great success, was such a great movie, and thinking that like, okay, well, I'm on this trajectory, and then all that to happen, was the process of getting Dandelion financed and all that stuff really difficult, or did you find an easy path?
It's always difficult, but this was much easier than Holler. The Holler was a 5-year path for that chunk of the process. Dandelion was maybe just under a 2-year process in terms of from writing to getting it financed.
And that's pretty short for an independent film. Yeah,
it is. And to have your second film happen so quickly after is really rare. And I don't take that for granted, but I think I was just so raring to go. And I was so devastated. And I'm part of this very unique class of filmmakers who didn't get to share their work in a traditional way, that we all had so much determination to make our second one. There was a handful of us that just like we were so ready to go because of that and so motivated by it. And I was one of those people. And so, yeah, after that, I had a lot of the same people, like all of you, who worked with me on Holler, who I loved. And a big thing that made it easier is I could just call a lot of people up and say, hey, let's go to camp again. And yeah, and then having IFC, this is my second one with them. I've only worked with them. Ariana Bacco, who ran IFC, took a big chance on Holler, and then she did the same with Dandelion. She's no longer at IFC, but I really credit her with big part of my career, because she really, and that company really put me on the map in a big way.
When it came time to cast, and I'm assuming it was casting of Holler, that you found the cast station and you found these guys, how did you hook up with them?
That was through my friend and their friend, very talented director, Amon Abbasi, who had worked with David Gordon Green and was his assistant, I believe. And he connected me with David. And through David and Amon, I met Carmen. And I was looking to cast in a different way, a really unique way and a challenging way, where you have professional actors or more established actors, and then I guess some people call it street casting. I don't know, but it's a huge job. I think it's a harder job than the traditional way of casting, because I have someone go out and really immerse themselves in the world of the film and find people who can play themselves. And that's really unique, and it's a challenging way to cast. And Amon enjoys that way of working, and David really enjoys that way of working. And so through them, I met John, Carmen, and Layne.
The only people that don't enjoy that way of working is us that have to do it.
I strongly disagree. I like getting to work on Holler. I think about that experience so often throughout like my daily life, and it's so much more than, at least to me, than like making a film. I mean, just getting to experience different communities, different people, really immersing yourself in these people's lives, and it's a really unique opportunity that a lot of people would never have, the chance to tackle. It certainly has its challenges, but God,
what does it
so
specifically
rewarding.
look like? So when she comes to you and she's got the script and she says, I need, so I'm curious, I want George and Helen are these two types of characters that you can read about, right? And I want them to be real people. Is that maybe kind of how it works?
Go into some of the fines.
How does it
the
go?
approach? Because it is this weird. It's this.
It's. I mean, every project's different. With Dandelion, we had very specific types of people that we were looking for, and we just, Lainey and I, we hit the ground and we started doing research on the city, the community, and just go to the places.
From afar, it looked like you guys were going out having drinks with musicians, just from afar.
We did
that. Is part of it.
We did that, but it's.
I was like, these guys are just partying. They're just going to shows every night.
Which is true, because you also have to immerse yourself in whatever it is you're trying to find. So you essentially have to become a piece of that work, And so in order for it to really be authentic, you have to,
And
go
it's such a
do the
weird
thing.
moment. You're out. You're in a situation that's relevant. Whether like holler, you're in a factory or you're in a
Yeah.
club. You're just in.
Yeah, no,
and then you walk up to a random person. You're like, "Hey, you want to be in a movie?" And
Yes.
they're like,
Yeah, no, so where does
"Fuck
it start?
you."
Does
No.
it start with the geography?
It can.
Does it you go to the town?
We go to the town. With Holler, we did a little bit more research. We had a little bit more time, and the ask was just very different. It was really important that we did that research up front. But yeah, being in Cincinnati for Dandelion, like it's just such a vibrant city. I mean, you can just go
It's a great
anywhere
city, yeah.
and find.
I
like,
almost
some
don't want to
great
tell people about it
I
because I'm like, the whole time I know, the whole time I was there, I was like, this reminds me of Austin 10 years ago. It's like teeming with creative energy that's untapped and everyone. Yeah, I know. I don't want to.
What? So
say it, but
did you guys get a playlist from her or?
Yeah, we didn't. I picked up on that. We did not get it.
Yeah,
A play-
you can get a playlist. I usually tell them here's the kind. I give them a little breakdown of here's the kind of person I'm looking for. But ultimately, if Carmen, Lanny come to me and say, we found this person and I trust them so much that if they find someone that's not exactly like what I'm looking for, they're mostly always right. They're always right. The person's great, and the plan is always okay. I'm going to take this placeholder. Let's say Helen. You use the name Helen. Let's say I'm looking for Helen to be some cool hipster chick musician, and Lanny and Carmen come to me and say, we found this like goth rocker Helen with an attitude. I'm like, let's go with that. And everyone they come to me with will be comfortable in front of camera and playing a version of themselves. And so then I tailor the script around them. I don't script them too much. I then bring them in and have a little interview with them about their lives. They don't audition or really read lines. I tailor it around them. Like, so for instance, there's a scene in the film where a woman talks about her past and her husband and her life now. And I had some version of that in the script, but they brought me this woman named Deborah, who plays a character called Mountain Mama. And she just told me about her life now and this big life change she went through and ending a relationship and how she just wants to have an adventurous life now. And I just listened and took notes on what Deborah told me, and that became her dialogue and her story to tell.
And then working with her, does that process work easy for you, or do you tend to have a hard time getting them once they're on camera because it's such a foreign world?
Yeah, I try not to make them do a lot of work beyond being themselves, because it's always 50-50. Some are still really nervous, some aren't. But Carmen and Lanny always send me people who are very comfortable in front of camera for the most part. And then if there's some nerves, like there was with Deborah, it's really the work's on me. Like I'm not there to make them a professional actor in a day. Like I think if you take that approach, it won't work. It's like, it'd be the same as like bringing an animal to set and then expecting them to not be a cat or something. It's like, no, this is not someone who's had formal training. I brought you here to be yourself. So I watch them and I do most takes they get the most takes, like more than the more established actors do, because I have to learn how to lens them, like what is the angle that looks best on them, where are they most comfortable, where are they naturally looking, what are the little ticks, what are the habits they have. I just have to really observe them and know what I'm working with, and then it's very intuitive and from the gut, and just, okay, now I know where to place camera on you. If I'm trying to make them learn a certain line of dialogue within the story they're telling for information or exposition that the story needs, and it's not landing, I have to adjust, and I have to get them really, really comfortable. And then, like everything else, then it's in the edit. But it's really tailoring myself to them and not the other way around. And really, it's a lot of trust in Carmen.
That's
It's
what
a
I
lot
was
of
going to
trust in
say.
her
It's a lot
because
of
she's shaping the story. Like, she could send me someone who's great and whose story will really change what Dandelion and Holler is. And I wouldn't even know if there was someone, like, the casting director is very powerful. Like, I wouldn't even know if she found someone who was better for the role because I'm not there. I'm really, really trusting them to bring me the best people, and I really do trust them. And so, in a way, Carmen's shaping what's going to go into the film.
Yeah, one thing that people may not realize is, Lainey and I are, hours and hours and hours walking the streets, going to people, and, for every, 30 people we just randomly approach, one or two will actually entertain the idea because it is such a foreign concept, so it's become a really special skill set that I think we have in being able to identify people that we think are going to be open to it, that have enough of an openness to be able to show up on set and not completely shut down, and be somewhat easy to work with, being non-actors. But
you also have to find that quality,
yeah,
which is the really hard part.
It's intuitive.
Yeah,
it's very intuitive.
I mean, when you're walking around, like, what are you guys? What is?
Sometimes there's a look. Sometimes but it is very intuitive in the sense of you have this idea of the character. And luckily Nicole isn't stuck on exactly the aesthetic or, it's more of a feeling that you get. And we're so interested and curious, I think, that lends itself to being able to see someone on the street and imagine them as this character. They have some kind of quality, which does start with openness. It starts with curiosity on their end, I think,
Yeah, it's always strange because you're just searching, you're looking, and then someone just like pings you, and you're like, "There's something about that guy."
Yeah,
or that girl.
it's a sounds
but also
silly.
like what a gray relationship area, because I think if you're an actor, you're prepared for the acceptance, rejection, and if you're in the dating pool, same thing, friendship, same thing. But this is sort of like, how do you lure someone in, and then if it doesn't work out, let them go.
It's heartbreaking when you love them too, and you just think there's something amazing about them.
Like vice versa.
Is,
like, what if how do you ask someone to play along, and then as you get more involved, you're a little bit more, it's clearer that you're like, oh, this might not work. Then how do you end that?
Yeah, again, it's like so much of this is really situational. I think being in a city like Cincinnati, where it's, people are maybe a little more open and understand the film world, it's not, it doesn't come across as like, this must be a scam, because why would someone walk up to me and ask me to be in,
whereas with Holler, it was not, it was a lot more work. It was a different environment.
It was a different time too.
It was
the country was in a really bad place.
Yeah, everyone was very skeptical.
Yeah.
But do you ever get somebody who's like, oh, cool, I'm going to be in a movie and go to Hollywood, and then you start working with them, and you're like, this might not actually work out, and then you got to let them go, and they're like crushed.
We are pretty clear, once we get them, talking to us, we explain what we're doing. A little bit about the project and kind of what the process is like.
Right.
So those expectations are as clear as possible for someone who's not familiar with
I think
the process.
How you said in the dating world and all of these, they all do have similar social cues and
Cues
constructs of
that you're able to
setting
lay out
expectations
beforehand.
Oh, even one step worse is when you have to tell them when they're on set and it's not working out.
Oh.
And then when they get cut out of the film and they think,
right.
that's really hard.
Right.
This is there's a lot of hard conversations that have to happen.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Not a fair business.
No.
It's a hard business. And some of those harsh realities hit.
Yeah.
And it's painful. It's hard to do, But the other thing too is that you find these people. I was just doing a movie in Cincinnati and I was able to go to some of the people that you guys talked to and knew, and they remembered you guys. And it was just like, you find communities that and then now we will say to a movie like, oh, Cincinnati's great. It's a great city. It's great people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, like the other thing that happens too is they get in the movie, then suddenly they want to leave their family and their job and move to Hollywood. And you're like, no, dude, don't do that.
You don't want that.
Don't.
Yeah. Don't want to do that.
Over here is the actor. I'm already so worried about you all. Don't.
I thought your we talked about Dandelion because you're a musician, like your take on it.
It was like watching my life. I cried multiple times.
Babe.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced the range. I mean, everything that she experienced in the film, I've experienced. It's what kept me out of music for a decade, It's what got me back into music also. It's, it hit home in a few different ways. Yeah. Very deeply. Just being on stage. Like, in fact, Carmen came to the show after we saw the premiere of it. I had a show for South by at a hotel lobby that's a very well-known one in Austin. And it went well, but also performing at a hotel lobby like she's doing in the film, there's half of the people are into you and half of the people have zero idea that you exist and will talk over you and will, and you're in the middle of a song and you're trying to stay present and you're performing for yourself, which is what you have to do first. But it does grate on you when you have enough of those experiences that are like, what am I doing up here? And you have to keep coming back and reminding yourself of that. But like what the array of emotion that she goes through in the film is, I've felt. I
mean, you nailed it. Like I grew up, my dad's a singer and I grew up in the corner watching all that, right? Sitting in, like playing a barbecue joint with like a recorder and a piano. And it's just like, it's the most depressing situation.
You've got to get to a point where you're like, the validation is from myself and I'm doing this because I love this. And there's the want to, for it to be successful and all that. But for me personally, I can speak to that. I just came around to the fact that I had to get back into music because I loved it so much and I was going to be doing it in some capacity, whether it's successful or not. But yeah, there were certain scenes in there that I was like, just hit my gut because I have felt that so many times over.
Yeah. You told a great story at South by about the song, the hook song that they rewrote it. You want to tell that story?
Which song was it?
It's the main song of the film. What's the?
The National they wrote a song, and I think it was KiKi that was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, there was a song. Well, Aaron and Bryce Stetzner, who did the music, they're fantastic collaborators. I love working with them, and they were my first. Besides you all, they were my first creative collaborators on the film. And we wrote all of the music before the actors were ever attached to the film. And the plan was once Dandelion, Casey are cast, we will have them, bring themselves to a few of these songs. And so with Ghosts of Cincinnati, or Over the Rhine, as it's now called in the film, and River, those were written, and then we, KiKi was brought into that process to make contributions and to tailor the songs a little more closely to her. And specifically with Ghosts of Cincinnati, Over the Rhine, that song was released 2 years ago, 2 years prior to filming, actually, on Big Red Machine's second album. It was that song I wrote in Washington Park, was the Ghost of Cincinnati. If you go back and you listen to the original of that song, it's a very bleak, it's a really dark song. And And Aaron loved it so much that he wanted to make his debut as a main vocalist on that song. And he also really connected to it. And I was like, sure. And so he released it on Big Red Machine's second album that came out that summer. And then when we made, Dandelion, we're like, oh, it's called Ghosts of Cincinnati. It's still that in the film, but just for publishing reasons, we changed it to Over the Rhine, so there wouldn't be two songs of the same title out there and confusing people, just in the publishing world. And so, and then KiKi came in and did her cover of it, put her spin on it, and it's just a second version of the Ghosts of Cincinnati. But both of them are terrific, and the film benefits so much from her version of that.
And you said she was like on set writing kind of her lyrics and inspired by what she was going through in her journey.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, with Over the Rhine and River, absolutely. Mostly Over the Rhine.
How did KiKi come to the project? How'd you guys bring her on?
I'll start by saying my least favorite part of making a film is casting. It's my least favorite.
Well, let's be specific, right?
I want to preface it by that before I go into the story.
I think you're talking about financing.
No. I'm talking about casting.
Okay.
She just hates actors. Why?
You all are my favorite part of casting.
Why? What is it that you hate about it?
I don't. If I could just, if the word value casting didn't exist, if money was not so connected to actors, maybe I would enjoy it. But to say it's not connected at all is just being a delusional person, because it is. And so KiKi I'm a director who says, okay, here, you're going to give me a list of names that have value, which is so insulting to actors because they have value. And it's I wish we could come up with a different word, because that's so demoralizing to hear, is that you don't have value. That's such a mean thing to say to a person, and ask them to not take that. To ask a sensitive artist to not take that personally, in my opinion, is so mean. So I look and I say, okay, here's 10 people who excite people who love celebrities. I could care less about who's famous or not. And then I look at who's the most talented for this role. And if in the Venn diagram, those names can check both boxes, I look at them first. But this was unique because I also had to look at who can sing. And a lot of people don't advertise if they can sing or not all the time. There's a couple actors, but there were this was more challenging for me to cast than Holler because of the music component. And I was okay if the actor didn't play guitar, as long as they would be willing to take lessons and learn some chords. But I did not want to put someone through exhaustive vocal training for 6 months or a year, and this film couldn't afford to do that, because good vocal training can be very expensive. And so I wanted someone who already had a fantastic voice. They did not need to be Adele, but I needed someone who had a singer-songwriter, soulful voice, and went through these lists. I did not have race in mind. I was just, if Dandelion's Asian American, Dandelion's Asian American. Like, well, if she's white, she's white. And I'm not saying I don't see color. I'm just saying for the role, I just open to someone to come in and wow me. And went through the lists like you always do. I went through really big names who could sing. Like, there are some movie stars out there who are phenomenal singers and guitar players. And, for a 1,000 reasons, it cannot work out. They're not available. They're not interested. They're doing something similar. It's not a fit, everything. and landed on KiKi was a name on the list. And I knew Beale Street Could Talk. I wasn't making the connection of her name and Beale Street Could Talk. And then I went back and watched it and I was like, oh yes, I loved her in this film. And Cindy Tolan told one of, the casting director who just handled Dandelion and Casey, told me, she can sing. And I was like, I need to hear them. And that was the most challenging part of casting this, is that when we were going through a lot of these agents and managers or representatives, no one will tell you their client can't do something.
Right.
And so if you ask them, can your client who you're putting up for this job sing? They always say, yes, they can carry a tune. That's the exact phrasing. To me, that says, I go to two different places. I say, one, it plants doubt. I'm like, that can carry a tune is code for can't sing.
Can sing
Because
happy
if-
birthday.
Yeah, can sing happy birthday. If they can sing, people who can really sing, they want you to hear them sing. They'll happily put themselves on tape to hear, to sing. And then, I just faced a lot of agencies and managers pushing clients, but not uh giving us tape of them singing. And it was like pulling teeth to get that. And yet I was being pushed to cast them because they carried some value that had nothing to do with vocal ability. And I'm a director, so you need to carry a music film. Like this is very music intensive. You have to sing a lot of songs. We're going to be doing live takes, pre-records. You're acting. You have to learn guitar. This is a very, very demanding role. It's a very demanding film. It's being done on a low budget. We're going to remote locations. We don't have a lot of days. I'm shooting it on film.
You have to know the creative songwriting process too, for it to be not seem like a
Yeah,
joke.
the songwriting process.
Yeah.
And you're very clear of these songs the music is being handled by Aaron and Bryce Dessner. So you will be brought into the songwriting process, but you are not here to be the songwriter.
What an
we have someone
insulting
who
waste
has
of
that
time.
job at the top of their game. And it was so challenging to cast because I was under enormous pressure to cast without hearing if they could sing. And it put me in really tough situations. And I learned a lot of hard lessons. I will never, ever crack under that kind of pressure again. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to the actor. Everyone loses if the client can't sing. And I think it has a lot more to do with the representative than it does the actor. And I think it's unfair to the actor, it's unfair to them because eventually I'm going to find out if you can't sing. And that artist is going to feel very embarrassed. And I never want that. I don't want to put an actor in a situation where they will be embarrassed in any way.
Well,
And so I spent the better part of a year just trying to figure out if people could sing or not.
Who was expecting her to cast without hearing if they could sing?
I mean,
Representatives.
the agents.
Calling because they loved the script, they loved the film, they loved Aaron and Bryce, they loved my first film.
Yeah,
They wanted this role for their actresses, and I'm like, they have to sing.
Yeah, but
like
then you're
I'm
just like,
not going to. But
we
think
can't
about
go any
this.
further without a tape of
You're
them singing.
sabotaging their career.
Well,
Yeah, if I put an actor in this situation and cast them, then and it doesn't work out, I'm in a situation to have to remove an actor if the vocal ability can't get there or isn't there. I'm in a situation where I may have to put another singer's voice on them, and if that ever got out, that would embarrass that actor. It would hurt my film. It would feel inauthentic about a movie that's telling you it's authentic. And so everyone in this film is singing for real, and they have amazing voices. But that was the biggest. That was one of the
And
biggest
the agent
challenges.
destroys that actor's value, right? By doing that, right? Destroys that actor's value because then they were referring to that last film that they didn't hold up their value. So it's just like it's not a win situation.
But so she doesn't even have any place to volley back. I need tape of them singing because they have this value.
It did. And I managed to I was able to get tape, and I made a hard and fast rule of, if I can't hear you sing, that's it. It's you're no longer being considered for this film, because it's a music movie and you are carrying a music movie.
Yeah.
And it was just really hard. The gatekeeping on this one was really hard because of the singing. And then anyone who was willing to put themselves on tape and audition, and both of these actors auditioned, that kept them in the running, and I was able to hear them sing. And through the regular casting process, I arrived at KiKi for the role of Dandelion. Then there we went to sort of a meeting, an interview process before the role was offered to her.
And then most of the guys you guys found too, right, had some type of music ability or talent, right? Or
some did.
Some of the roles
some of the roles were like very, very specific, had to be musicians, so, and that also helps guide us, makes it very clear, like we're looking for, XYZ, they have to be able to do this one thing.
Yeah, I think like the Mountain Mama role, they all sang and had some kind of.
And then, of course, there are a lot of band scenes, different musicians coming in. The violinist, gosh, she was so good. So
definitely.
yeah, she was awesome. But I can't.
And we did put them on tape. We asked them to sing on the spot.
Yeah.
Which was also part of trying to see if they would be open, comfortable, get out of their shell. And that was a really fun process. I don't remember the actress's name. The singer's name? We went to her recital, or like we went to her rehearsal, and heard her whole band, which was
you get so many of these special moments, like
you're like, you might not be good for this.
You're behind the scenes with the New Orleans Indians, or you're in these like really cool environments,
niche that you would never be in. Yeah, that's so cool.
Brings me back to what I was saying earlier, like about. I know we're not talking about Holler specifically today, but what an insanely beautiful, eye-opening experience that was. And to be able to do that with Nicole and with Lainey, like, I mean, I there was no way that I could have done that without Lainey.
Weather conditions too was really difficult.
Oh my God.
But I mean, you just, sometimes you go into, we're going into the Rust Belt, and, I'm a California kid. I have a very clear vision of like what the Rust Belt is. And I'm like, oh God, no one's going to want to talk to me. And we just met like the sweetest, most caring, authentic people.
Yeah.
And it just like, again, as difficult as it was, it was cold, it's this and that. Like, it was those moments that are still very, very much with me.
It's a very human experience.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And you learn about humanity, a ton about humanity, and how
good
for the
and
most
bad.
part, good and bad, but for the most part, how people are good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think when you're like street casting, real people casting, like you really see the uniqueness in each individual, because that's what you're like hyper focused on.
It's really all about authenticity on both accounts.
Yeah.
If you are presenting authentically to them, then and they have that in them, then they're going to meet you there, and that's really cool to see.
Yeah.
And life wouldn't surprise you and touch you in that way if you weren't embedded in this scenario.
We give
you would just drive through
our hearts
that town.
to every single person.
But you wouldn't have the opportunity to embed in that way.
I would have never been
passing through.
Yeah.
And it would stay in the realm of that place that the California girl thinks this is what it is. And you would never have the chance to mingle and merge like that.
Yeah.
I explain the job. I say we're carny workers. We come in and we set up the lights and we do the little thing and we do the magic show and then we leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you guys come in behind us, bring the trucks and we set up all the rides and capture the magic.
It's true.
But yeah, I mean, you definitely, Nicole, have the ability to take that authenticity, that rawness, and craft it into just an amazing, like Dandelion. It's such a easy film, I think, to like fail on, and you just were able to capture that authenticity like so great and brought the people together. And it seemed like I had a question too, when the lyrics fly in the air, was that an accident?
That was an accident. That really happened.
Oh, really?
It was, a lot of that scene was improv. I throw out the script a lot.
I love the way she grabs him. I would have done that too.
Yeah, in feature films, on my films, I'm very flexible with the script, and like that was a scene where that really happened. I was like, let's go with it, and you have to work that way when you're filming the process of songwriting, because you can't really. It's challenging to script the process of songwriting. It's not going to feel real, and you're not going to get to the magic and the good stuff by scripting it. So I go in, I'm like, here's kind of the goal of this scene. This is what the script says. Here's the goal of it. You both already know the song. So I'm just going to roll. Let's come up with the chorus. Let's do this. And so the takes were really, really long, which was challenging because you're shooting on 16 millimeter film. So you have about 11 minutes before you roll. You have 11 minutes before you roll out. And so we're doing very, very long takes because that's what it requires in order to capture the songwriting process. And I never wanted it to feel like they just come up with this amazing song in 15 seconds.
Right.
So we needed to sort of roll and roll and roll, knowing that I would, for running time, jump cut a lot of that process along the way. But in order to jump cut it for the scene, we needed to pretty much burn through hours of film, which I'm sure the producer didn't love. But that's sort of what we had to do. But I wanted to say something about, what KARMEN and you all do on the ground that's so amazing is just, you couldn't do that job if you didn't genuinely love people. And like Lanny said, that presenting with authenticity, a lot of people in the movie business do not present with that.
Here.
Shocking, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the process of making a film will show up on screen, and the warmth and the lack of judgment that KARMEN gives to other people. Like there's nothing judgmental about KARMEN, and I know that people sense that when she approaches them, you feel, and if you just meet her in person, you feel warmth. She radiates warmth and like a love of human beings. And I genuinely love people. I love just getting in a lift and having the Lyft driver tell me the story of their life. Like I love it. I love other people. And if anyone else were casting the film, I don't think my work would have heart, like feel so big hearted, and you'd feel love of people. And I hope that when people watch this and when they watch my work, they feel warmth and they feel a love of human beings. But a lot of that comes from what you all do on the ground, and that all these people, they're only in the movie because you made them feel comfortable and accepted.
I think, and you see what the quality, the special, like you're opening your soul to their soul, and I would think that's the what you did with capturing, like letting the film roll out. That's what makes the film believable and real. That was like, I think, key element for sure. But I do want to say that we've been in situations that are highly dangerous, and she needs to judge certain people, and she needs to know when to run sometimes.
One comes to mind.
It's funny that you say that.
Or another time, one comes.
Yeah. It's funny that you say that, because I feel like that role is switched now. Where like when we're in the environment, she's the protector. Like she's like, Laney, get out.
Yeah.
So that's really funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Well, she learned. She did.
Yes. Look at her. Yeah.
It was some close calls.
Yeah. We do, but yeah, we're both so we have so much fun I think in spontaneously finding these stories and like these characters and just human beings, it's like, it's always just, creating a story is so much fun. And the fact that Nicole gives us the creative ability to do that without too many parameters, it's so much fun to just be able to like jump into something that's like, should we do this? Maybe not. I don't know.
You're in worlds. You're like, I should not be here.
Oh yeah. We definitely, we've experienced that, especially when my hair was
a running
different.
joke now about, okay, where's Nicole sending us next?
Yeah, and it's the funnest part of it, is like, where do we get to go that we would never get to go,
Yeah.
No, I feel that way too. Like, I know what it's like to live in Cincinnati, and I know what it's like to live in Wilmington. I know what it's like to live in Atlanta. I know, like, you get to have these mini lives.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, I know what my life would be like here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a.
You get to pop in and out of worlds that you would otherwise never have access to.
I think for me, the most stressful, I don't know how you guys handle this, the most stressful is like, I don't know where I'm going to find this person.
Yes.
I don't know, like, like.
That's the first of it is getting the ball rolling and thinking like, okay, where am I going to look for this, which we do tend to go to bars,
No,
like,
you want people to have their guard down, but like,
right.
But it's just like, it's like when we get hired, it's like, okay, this is what we got to go cast. And you're like, okay,
where am I going to find that
I hope
person?
this exists.
Yes.
And I hope that I find the person that's of the quality that, but every time it works out.
Yeah.
Oddly
but
enough.
also every time I will say there is that semblance of anxiety where you're like, gosh, I hope this works out.
100%.
Oh yeah, every time we
That's
go
so
into
funny
it,
because I don't have any of that anxiety. They're out doing their job. I'm and scouting. I'm in the production office dealing with a million other things, and in the back of my mind, I'm not worried at all. I'm like, oh, they'll find the perfect person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even worry for a second that you won't find the perfect person.
And
so
we
it's so funny from here that you have these moments of, oh my God.
I think it's because we do care. Like we care about doing a good job and finding and making the story because.
I mean, for every project that we work on, but I want to say like specifically for you, Nicole, like we care about your vision and the films that you're making so much. So yeah, we do.
Yeah,
and we love you a lot, so we put some pressure on ourselves.
I think when you know that you believe in you have a director that can handle like what you're giving them and craft it into something beautiful, you feel a part of the process. You feel like you're handing something off that is like, look at this gem, and they get to go make something beautiful, and it's it's so rewarding, and it's so rewarding to see the person that you found on the street up on the screen and then deliver. And it's just like,
it's a whole process of, when someone, Nicole, trusts you to do your job at the end of the day, it breathes so much life.
Sounds like a little too much, but that's okay.
It does though. It gives you the confidence to be able to go out and do that job.
Yeah.
It breathes a lot of life, the freedom to be able to do that. It's great.
Which is funny because every film I feel like I'm going to fail.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I'm like,
I don't know, John. Is that a you?
That's a me thing. That's a total me thing. Yeah.
You care.
I do care a lot. You have to, like you said, you have to be this human being out there, like really kind of being vulnerable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is fun though to be able to say to these people who have never thought about being in front of a camera, being like, I see something special in you. Do you want to dive into that? That's like it's a selfish fulfillment.
I could cry thinking about that one.
I mean, seriously though, that's
when I get people that are just beautiful, they have like a horrible hard life.
Yes. Yes, which is again, we're not talking about Holler here, but we also are, because that was a lot of what it was. It brought me to tears so many times of like, you're giving these people even just like an escape for a day of their normal lives that they otherwise wouldn't have. It's just really cool to be able to be a stranger and to kind of walk up to someone. I love giving compliments in the first place, but to be able to say like, hey, I see something special in you. Do you,
or just maybe that you're telling them that they're seen.
Yeah, totally.
In a way that maybe they've
Yeah.
never been
I love to see that.
seen
I love it with
before.
actors too. Like when, like, you know, you bring them in and like and they get to express their craft and their ability, and they knock it out of the park. I just love that moment of like celebrating that humanity.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like, and
Yeah.
it just sucks that it's in this business.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does, and it's also, I think, what we're all fighting to, you know, try to
Yeah, try to
permeate.
protect it. Yeah. I remember doing like dancers, you know, in LA, and just these kids from inner cities come in and just like pour their hearts out for these videos, and it was just like so moving just to see that talent, that raw ability, and just to be able to like show that to the world. I just think that's such a beautiful process.
Yeah.
It is a very humanistic expression. It is the ultimate of what we're trying to do, is touch humanity and express back to each other what it is to be human. And then it just so happens to be in such a shitty industry. Like just a
Yeah, but then there's
there's a way
filmmakers
of,
like
like-
Nicole
Yeah,
who
I
actually,
mean,
you know,
yeah,
they do it.
Yeah, that's
And-
that's why we love you so much, is because
Yeah.
you're fighting the fight with us to
Yeah.
like to tell human stories.
Well, I think also, unfortunately, anything that we have to put into the, you know, the realm of buying and selling,
Yeah.
it gets that way. It's,
Adele doesn't have the value.
yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, and these people who are in these movies, that you know, you all find, they really stay in our lives forever. I'm in touch with all of them.
Yeah.
They're part of my family now. They're part of my lives. And Holler, there's this young woman, Megan, and she plays Ruth's best friend in the film, and her little baby she holds, that's really her little girl, she brings to the door, and she's carrying her, and now she's walking. Now this baby is grown up, and I see her and I think, wow, you're gonna, you know, see yourself in this film when you're older. And I've asked Megan, you know, has she seen the film yet now that she's older? And she's like, yeah, she watched herself as a baby in a movie. And you're right. When one of you said people don't feel seen, I think most people, whether you're in movies or not, I think a lot of people walk around in life feeling unimportant and unseen. And that is the heart of Dandelion, right? Is what people connect to about Dandelion, whether you're man, woman, white, black, brown, gay, straight, bi, we all feel unseen in some way. And I don't think movies make that any easier when we only see a handful of actors who look exactly alike. They're all polished with the brightest white teeth, the clearest skin, and they all look alike. And it's only a handful of names in every movie. It doesn't make a lot of people feel good. So if I can just throw up some faces on screen, that's really what most people look like and are like. It has an impact on people when we live in this society that's so rich with comparison to others.
I think that's a good note to end on.
Yeah.
Yeah. When can people see it? And where?
Soon, in 3 weeks, July 12th, it comes out exclusively in movie theaters. It's getting a much wider release than Dandelion. We're opening, I think, 300 plus theaters in the US. We'll be in some AMCs and Alamo Draft Houses, in addition to all the art house theaters. So, you know, if people want to see more films like this, go buy a ticket, go to the theater and see it. And then after its theatrical run into summer, it will be, you know, VOD streaming throughout the rest of the year, and hopefully international very soon as well. But go see it. I actually think it's a great date movie. So go swoon together and see Dandelion. And then the soundtrack is also, we're working on that, and that will come out. So you can listen to the music right after you see the movie.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Nicole Riegel, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our show today was recorded in studio by the good folks at Record ATX. Check them out at recordatx.com. Our theme music is produced by Jonathan Price. You can check out some of the sounds he makes with his project, The Mid-Cities, on Spotify. Follow, subscribe, and smash that like button if you see one. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.